Okay, so look, without any further ado, I'm gonna get stuck into it. I, for one, and we as an association are extremely excited to be able to launch this DealShare platform. But before we start going into the platform itself and how it works, I have a short presentation just to really bring you on board with what we're doing and why we did this. So let me go on. A brief agenda, the what, the why, the who, and the how. What is this? Why did we do it? Who can use it? And how does it work? So what is a DealShare platform? And again, this might be stating the obvious. I have a thing about stating the obvious. I think it's important to make sure that obvious to us is also obvious to everybody and vice versa. So there are at any one time a number of people in the market, this market, looking for finance, looking for capital. And there are also a collection of experienced professional investors who have come together to form an association and represent dry powder, that is investable capital of more than several $100 million. And so really what the DealShare platform is a way to connect these two and plug one into the other. And so by bringing it together, we can then provide access to these deals. And how does it look? Well, we'll dive into it, but essentially it's modeled to some degree on a standard commerce browsing website. Those websites were created to make it more efficient for consumers to engage with products in an easy way, and with people providing products to do so in an efficient basis to communicate. And so we really echo and mirror that concept, that principle of making it as easy as possible for those who are seeking capital to provide information and have that information seen by the people with the means and the needs and the ability to provide that capital. Okay, so why are we launching it? Again, this should be quite obvious. Now, to the left-hand side over here, you have a pretty standard kind of organizational, intra-organizational network map. And you can see, these colors, we could call them teams or we could call them companies. For the time being, let's imagine they're investors. And different investors are communicating with different organizations, other investors, but it's all kind of jumbled and there's not like a standard process. So if someone comes to meet me and they're looking for maybe a ticket size which is outside of EME's investment range, then there's every possibility I will pass that on to most likely one of our member investors, but maybe only one or two. There's not a formal process for doing that yet beyond the kind of standardized email which we have. And that means that potentially my passing on isn't efficient. Maybe I passed it to the wrong person. And maybe without that, it's going to fall by the wayside at some point. These things happen. With the DealShare platform, what we can begin to do is channel all of these deals into one place. And so if we look on the right-hand side, and you'll excuse the kind of rudimentary map that I've made here, we can call these top orange ones, these are deals, these are companies, people looking for deals. At any one time, they're meeting with various investors. And instead of these investors picking and choosing who they might speak to based on who they meet recently or who they're talking to, they can channel that information with the company into the DealShare platform, at which point all of the member investors have access to that and they can all see it. And so increasing the efficiency, increasing the breadth and depth of communication to better connect those seeking capital with those with capital. Who can use the DealShare platform? The great news, and really the whole purpose of this, is that anybody, any company, registered company, can list their requirements on the platform. Of course, we want to ensure that there is some quality control to what is being listed. And so there will be a recommendation process where you select a referee. From there, complete a quick and easy template. Once the referee has approved the listing, it goes straight live to the platform. In terms of who sees that information, this is important, I'm sure, for all of the companies out there thinking, what information am I providing and to whom? It will be only investors, and only investors who are members, and they will be two categories for the time being. So that's full members. We define a full member as an active investor with operations inside Myanmar, or international members who are active investors in Myanmar whose offices exist outside of Myanmar. And we represent the vast majority of capital in the market. How does it work? Well, as I said, very simply, the company will complete a template, and we'll go through the template in just a moment. From there, the referee will be a MPE&VCA director or full member, sees the deal, and from there can straight approve it to the platform if it looks about right, or if they pick up typos or something they're not sure about, they can feed that back to the deal creator and say, hey, maybe just check this part. Again, it will go through the referee and then onto the DealShare platform. It's a very simple process. From there, as we talked about, full and international members will have access to the deal listings. We can consider this to be a database of sorts. And so you see in there various deals. Let's say that an MPE&VCA member, perhaps it's EME, is looking at the deal listings and they see this deal here, right? For illustration, it's called Deal C. And they say, hey, this is a company that I would like to meet. All of the listings don't have contact details on them to enable us to add a step. And so at this point, I would send an invitation, much akin to the way you might invite someone to connect on LinkedIn. I can add a personal note. That goes through to the owner of that deal and they say, hey, Matt would like to connect. And assuming they say yes, which we're assuming, then the platform will release their contact details, at which point the conversation can take place inside or outside of the platform. This is really provided for members to be as simple and efficient as possible, and so they implement the after introduction that can take place outside of the platform. So that's the end of the presentation. I will now move on to going through a demonstration and hope it goes smoothly. Before I do that, I just want to give a thank you and a recommendation for AdventSoft. They have helped us to create this software, and they've been very easy to work with. And so we're in the final kind of debugging phase now. Certainly recommend them. Okay, so I'm just going to pause this share and prepare to share a different screen. Give me just a moment. Okay, Zoom tells me that you can see this, and so let me take you through it. So before we go on, let me do a few things. First of all, let me just zoom in a bit. Apologies. Okay. We will be sending this live very soon. We are in the final process of changing a bit of the copy and a bit of the journey. So anything you see here is very much a demonstration, subject to a few improvements. But let me continue with that caveat. So we have a simple homepage here. And what we're going to do is go through the process of deal creation. And so we click on Submit Deal. And you'll see here that you select a referee as the first port of call. If you don't have a referee, then all of you who might be considering to use this platform are doing the right thing today by engaging in other MPE&VCA content and finding ways in which to connect with investors. So we'll select from the list and we'll go to deal entry. And so this is just a one-page deal entry. We're going to run through it together. I will keep my responses much shorter than I would recommend you do, just for the sake of this. So let's just call it Matt's Startup. And the promoter is me. And the project name is Startup Expansion. I'm trying to raise 150,000. And I'm going to put here deal close date. So we're just looking at, when do we need the funds by and at what stage we want to take the deal off the system. So we just put this forward by a few quarters from today. So let's say I'm looking for it by the end of Q3. Okay, so company description. A startup is a great company that does interesting things. Again, this is very much a demonstration, not a recommendation of what to write. Investment opportunity to help scale to a new level by engaging with more clients. Okay, Okay, so far so good. You then have here to add a company logo, which we're going to do. Great. And there'll be an opportunity here to add other items that you might like. So for instance, a pitch deck, any financials. Certainly they're not recommended or required, but rather additional for you if you would like to include them. We have a sector list here. So let's say that, why not? I'm in banking and date of incorporation, or year, say last year, or 2 years now. Number of employees, and then option here for date of last investment. So depending on the stage, I'd recommend to put it in. Then there's a few binary requests at the bottom. Most of these are quite straightforward. So do you have audited financial statements? Is it a minority or a majority stake on offer? Is there a secondary purchase, i.e. the shares being sold from another shareholder rather than shares issued by the company? And does your company have a woman as a co-founder or C-level executive? And the reason for including that is, firstly, there are more and more gender-focused or gender-lens investors. And secondly, as Josephine said, we want to create as much data as possible. And so what we'll be doing throughout this process is, in an aggregated basis, capturing data on the sectors, on the amounts, and understanding, what's getting most attention, in order that we can begin to feed that back to the community, both in terms of investors, but also in terms of those seeking capital. So understand what areas, what sectors are interesting and for various investors. So I'm going to click here to say I confirm the information. I'm going to add my email address in here. Confirm it. Okay. Check your reference is correct. And that's it. Submit deal. Thank you. Being submitted. Now, from there, you will be able to log back into the deal. What I first need to do is just go into the admin system and make that deal live. So bear with me for just a moment whilst I do so. Okay, so let's see if I can. Sorry, trying to do this live is a lot. So let me just, I'm actually going to log into a previous deal, make it a bit easier for you, just so you can see how that will look. Share my screen again. Okay, so thank you, Juliet, for creating this one. So this is the screen. This is what the deal creator will see. They can edit their submission here, and you'll be able to see the number of views that you're getting, the activity, so how long the deal has been active, and any meeting requests that are coming through. So this is company Go Dancing. And so let us now move this. We log in as an investor, and I've just been notified that we're ready to do the second session. So I'll be as fast as possible through this. Oh, sorry. Let's try that again. Okay, so here we have the investor dashboard. So you will see here items you might have favorited before, pending and accepted invites. And so at the bottom, you've got deals that you've previously favorited. And here you can go into the section to browse deals. You'll have here a list. You can filter these by sector, and you can sort them by various options. You can also search by project name. So in terms of adding favorites, it's just a simple click the love heart. And as we drill into the deal itself, then we'll see the deal information. So all of the information they filled out previously that we just did together, all of that is located here, in addition to any attachments they might have added. And then from there, you can add a meeting invitation. I'd love to meet. Okay. If we go back to our dashboard, we're then going to see our pending invitations. We just sent one here to Boom Boom Raising Capital. Now, for the time being, I'm going to stop there because we are running a little bit over time. But as you can hopefully see, even with my lumpy demonstration, it's as simple as possible to navigate, simple as possible to add that information and to connect people and go through it. So we're ironing out the final processes of this at the moment and expect to launch in the next couple of weeks. So everyone here today, and of course on our mailing list, will be the first to know, at which point we'll do some guided sessions as well about creating these deals and running through it. If in the meantime you have questions or suggestions, then we'd love to hear them, of course. And I will now make up for my demo earlier, and we can have a little look at the interactions between the investor and investee communication. I will admit it was booting me out every time I tried to log in as one or the other, but with the marvel of incognito private browsing windows, I think we've solved it. So without further ado, let's have a closer look at this. Okay, I'm going to share my whole screen and come what may. Okay, so we can go into here. So this is the deal dashboard home for Matt's startup, the company that we just created together. And you can see there's not very much there because we've only just put this online. And so I have the basic information. I can edit this submission at any time. If you do edit the submission, it will go back through a approval process, of course. But here is my dashboard. As these things change as well, so as you get a meeting request, there is email notifications, and so it is all happening in the background. We won't dive into the emails today, too many screens to share. So let's look at this from the investor side. So I've gone in, I've logged in as the investor, I'm looking through the deal list, and I'm like, hey, Matt's Startup, that's a catchy name for a company, let me have a look. I click in and I see the deal detail that we were talking about earlier. So at this time, I'm like, actually, yes, I do want to send an invitation. I'm going to do that here. This company has the best name. And I'm going to send that invitation through. Your invitation is sent. Great. Which means if I go back to my dashboard, again, as the investor, then I'll see here pending invites. And so you can see Matt's startup expansion, pending invite. So let's head over to Matt's startup and please cross your fingers for me that it's there. Okay, so let's just refresh. Sure enough, we have a meeting request. Now again, you don't have to continue logging back into the system to find these. I will receive an email when it's sent. In fact, I did get it on my phone. And so I can go in here and accept it, right? I can also reject it and we'll capture the reason for if so. So I'm going to accept that. Click accept you'll share your contact information with the investor. Great, I would like to do so. Okay. And then at which point, all the meetings that you've accepted, they're going to list down here. You can then see the status of that conversation. And so if we click on details, you can see the meeting conversation back and forward, right? And the default status is just to keep the deal live, but there may be areas where you want to change that to conversation closed, or perhaps you've received an investment offer, but you're now seeking co-investment. In this instance, what will happen if you're seeking co-investment and that's confirmed by the investor is we'll send out a investor-wide email to say, hey, this deal has an investor and is seeking an additional one. And so let's go back over to our investor dashboard, just refresh here. We won't have to refresh all the time, it's just on the test server right now. And you can see, accepted, startup expansion. So by email and in the deal, when I click into it, I would then have the contact details. The communication at that point can take place out of the platform. You don't have to lock people into it. It's really about creating introductions. And again, underneath, favorite deals. So that is it for the time being. Hopefully it's enough to whet your interest. Certainly there is more to come, and we look forward to please helping us to share this far and wide when it does go live. As we know, this is a difficult market for raising capital at the moment, and the more information we can get in there, the increased chances of transactions. And also just a final note on the data. There is very little data about Myanmar and across a range of sectors, right? This is true for Myanmar, Cambodia, Laos, was true for Vietnam, becoming less so. And one of the things that the association can do is really start to create that data. And that has untold value, both for investors, for companies seeking capital, for new companies looking to enter the market. There's a lot of different ways that can be used. And so the way that we can start to create as much of that as possible is by having more people coming into this platform, sharing and increasing their ability to raise capital. And on the back of that, I'm sure something that is within our mandate really is to also upskill local SMEs, startups with their ability to raise capital. And the more that we understand about what is working, what's not working, the type of companies that are receiving interest, then the more ability we have to feed back to the community and help them to not necessarily change their models, but rather to communicate, fix the narrative in a way that gathers attention and creates meetings. So that's it. We are at 5:29, and so we'll wrap up. Thank you all very much for staying with us, for enduring the first demo. Hopefully the second part at least showed you how the platform will be coming together. And we'll be communicating very soon with further information on this regard. Okay. Josephine, is there anything further to add on your side there?
No, just any feedback on this, just send the messages through to Juliet and the team. And in following on from some of the good conversations I had, if you've got any ideas for events and trainings, please also send them in. Thank you.
Excellent. Well, in that case, I'm just being reminded what we should do before we go is take the mandatory selfie. Yeah. So I've also learned that you can't do one for everyone. You have to move everyone along and take another one. It's amazing, this technology, huh? All right. So 3, 2, 1. Thumbs up for this one. 3, 2, 1. Cheese. Amazing. Brilliant. It's a keeper. Well done, guys. You all look great.
Okay. And thank you very much, Matt.
Thank you. All right. Speak to you all soon. Look forward to seeing you and engaging later. Bye-bye.